Welcome to Lumberjane's complete guide to the Wintertodt. Wintertodt is a great place to pick up supplies, especially for Iron Men accounts. So whether you're looking to do the combat achievements, solo, or do it as part of the group worlds, this guide will tell you everything you need to know to master the Wintertodt. Wintertodt is a skilling boss. Now this is a dangerous activity, so let's look at why you'd want to do Wintertodt in the first place. As long as you secure 500 points while you are fighting Wintertodt, we'll come to the explanation of the point system a bit later, but as long as you score 500 points, you secure a supply crate from the citizens of Kurend, plus firemaking experience equal to 100 times your level. Each supply crate can contain anything from fish, seeds, herbs, ores, gems, logs, the various pieces of the Pyromancer outfit, and the rarest drops include the Dragon Axe, the Phoenix Pet, and the Tome of Fire. There's a 1 in 150 chance of getting the pieces of the Pyromancer suit from the supply crate, which is extremely desirable as the full suit will grant you a 2.5% boost to firemaking experience. The 3 rarest drops you can get from the Wintertodt crates are really cool, and the rarest of these is obviously the Dragon Axe, which has a drop rate of 1 in 10,000. The Phoenix Pet also looks really cool, that's a 1 in 5,000, and the Tome of Fire is a 1 in 1,000. Those are really great drops and are really quite desirable. You can also get burnt pages from the supply crates, which fuel the Tome of Fire. These can also be obtained from Ignicia, who is outside the doors of Din. She will offer you burnt pages or additional supply crates in exchange for Wintertodt uniques. So far I've managed to get a Tome of Fire on one account and a Dragon Axe on the other. I'm still waiting for that Phoenix Pet. It's a random chance because each crate randomly rolls based off of how many points. We'll look at this later on. In short then, Wintertodt is a great place to get set up supplies for new accounts. This is especially useful for Iron Men who can't use the Grand Exchange or trade. Equally, at the point of opening, the contents of each crate scales with the opener's level. So the higher you're mining, for example, the rarer ores will obtain from the supply crates. And the crates are decided at the point of opening. So that's why a lot of people go here and they do the full grind to 99, because if they store the supply crates, those crates will keep your account supplied for a very long time. The second reason you go to Wintertodt is to get 99 firemaking. Wintertodt offers arguably the best firemaking XP in the game, starting off at level 50 with 135 to 160k per hour, building up to 270k or 320k depending on whether we're fletching. This is fantastic and probably the fastest and arguably easiest 99 to get in the game. And the 99 firemaking cape is actually one of the more useful capes because it counts as a source of light, which again has like Slayer advantages and obviously any other quests that require point of light and things. It's a very useful cape to have. The third sort of tertiary reason is the additional experience you can gather in woodcutting, fletching and construction. You also gain a little bit in farming and herb lore, but the rates are really low. However, woodcutting, fletching, construction, you do get some really decent amounts of experience while you are doing this activity, and it's definitely worthwhile. So by the time you get to 99 firemaking, you can have, level 60 to 70 in woodcutting, fletching, and possibly even 60 to 70 construction, depending on whether you are soloing or joining the groups. Another reason for completing Wintertodt is to complete the combat achievement tasks. There are a total of 8 combat achievement tasks, and you will need to complete Wintertodt at least 50 times in order to get all 8 tasks completed. We will go through each of these tasks later in the video. So first up, let's start with the very easy stuff. Where is Wintertodt? Well, Wintertodt is located at pretty much the most northern point in Greater Kurend. You can get there either using a sapphire necklace that's been enchanted, aka a games necklace, or you can hoof it from Port Piscarilius. Also, those with access to the Fairy Ring network can actually teleport just to the north of the Arceus Library. Games necklaces are very cheap or easy to make, so I recommend using the games necklace route. So before you go charging off to Wintertodt, there are some other steps that you need to complete in order to prep for the best possible experience and to also make it a lot easier. You're going to need 50 firemaking. How you do this is up to you. The fastest member's way to level up is to use Pyologs, and the fastest sort of in the free or the regular game, I think is literally just to chop and burn oak, just based on the speed that you can cut oak, and also the fact that most Ironman accounts can only access a steel axe at this point. If you're playing on a regular account, you can obviously cut things like maple and willow at a much better rate. Anyhow, once you're at your 50 fire making, you also need to complete the Druidic Ritual quest. This will allow you to pick herbs and create rejuvenation potions. This is not as big a deal if you're going to use the group worlds, because you can rely on other people to do the healing. But if you're going to solo, you kind of have to do it, so you may as well just get it out of the way. Plus, Druidic Ritual is a basic quest that you probably need to do for your account anyway. The next step, you need to buy your player-owned house. This will allow you to gain construction experience from fixing the broken braziers. This is a really good one and definitely worth the time to do, because construction can be quite an expensive skill to level. You're just going to get some easy levels while grinding out Wintertodt. Definitely worthwhile in my opinion. And the last and final preparation step is you need to get a minimum of 4 pieces of warm clothing. You need 4 pieces of warm clothing. This will give you the maximum damage protection from the Wintertodt. If you don't have 4 pieces of warm clothing, the amount of damage you take will increase quite substantially. Now I'm going to put a guide in the description there as to what warm clothing is available. I have 2 recommendations. The easiest one is something like the Anti-Santa suit. So if you have took part in any events across RuneScape, you'll be able to go to Django in Draenor Marketplace and claim a lot of the event suits from previous events. Most of them, or quite a few of them anyway, especially the Christmas ones, count as warm clothing, so you can just get the full like Santa or Anti-Santa suit, for example. Alternatively, if you haven't got any of that stuff, I recommend getting the Clue Hunter outfit. These are all pretty easy to obtain. You just need a shovel and a couple of random items for the helmet, and you can get the full set. I'm going to drop a little link to a guide on the screen that I made recently, and that should give you all of the locations and some help and advice on how and where to get them. So before we get into the mechanics of the Wintertodt, we probably need to discuss a little bit about what HP level you are. You will see a lot of people at Wintertodt who are like level 3 characters, i.e. they've still got 10 HP. So there are 2 main benefits to the 10 HP argument, which is basically you can use cakes, which can be stolen very easily from cake stalls throughout RuneScape, and each cake can be used 3 times to heal 4 HP each time, all from the convenience of 1 inventory slot. So you can take an absolute minimum of food. You probably only need 2 cakes to do each Wintertodt run if you have 10 HP. The second advantage of the 10 HP argument is just the damage. Because the damage is proportional to your health, essentially all of the attacks from Wintertodt will deal like 1 or 2 damage max to your character. Characters with significantly more health will take significantly more damage. A good mid-range food is wines. These can be bought from the Grand Exchange or for Ironmen. You can easily cook these at the Cooking Guild with a cooking level of 35. If you have significantly more HP, maybe 70 plus, you really need to be looking at Saradomin brews. Again, these can be quite hard for Ironmen because they require 81 herb lore. They heal 15% of your HP level plus 2, and you get 3 doses per potion. If you don't have any of those things and you just have a bank full of general food, don't worry. I did 90% of the Wintertodt using tuna and swordfish, so it's not the end of the world. And it's once again time for some Lumbridge trivia. Examining the Doors of Din reveals a quote from what popular television series? Answers on a postcard. Or just keep watching and you'll find out later in the video. Let's look at the mechanics of the Wintertodt battle, and starting with how the Wintertodt will damage you. It has 3 attacks. The standard attack is unblockable and hits any character in the Wintertodt at random. There's nothing you can do about this attack other than wearing warm clothes to reduce the attack's damage. If you are wearing 4 pieces of warm clothing and have 10 HP, the standard attack, where it will say something along the lines of the cold of Wintertodt penetrates your bones, you will take 1 HP damage. The second attack is the brazier attack. If you are stood next to the brazier, i.e. you are feeding it or fletching right next to the brazier, and you see the snow flurry on top of it, a few seconds later, the brazier will explode, as that is the Wintertodt attacking the brazier, and it will say shards and shrapnel from the brazier exploding damage you. For a character with 4 pieces of warm clothing and 10 HP, will cause around 2 points of damage. And the third and final attack that the Wintertodt can muster is a random area of effect attack. As with the brazier attack, the attack is signified by a blizzard, which appears around 2 seconds before the attack actually hits. So you have that long to get out of the A of E. The attack is a 3x3 square. A character with 10 HP and 4 pieces of warm clothing caught inside that 3x3 square will take 2 damage. I will include a link to the OSRS Wikipedia page with an exact calculation. I'll flash it up on the screen if you want to check it out. This will show you exactly how to calculate the damage if you are so inclined. Suffice to say, the standard attack deals the least amount of damage. The brazier and the area attack tend to deal a lot more damage, especially if you have a lot more HP. They can deal up to 12 or more points of damage. So these second two are best avoided if possible. As I say, the standard attack is unavoidable, there's nothing you can do, and it's completely at random. Moving on to the Wintertodt prison itself, there are 4 braziers with 4 pyromancers in each corner. There's a safe zone just in front of the doors of Din that I've marked in green on the map there for you. This is a key location because the Wintertodt cannot attack you, and you can also find some items that are required to fight the Wintertodt. While the braziers are lit and the pyromancers are standing, players can feed the lit braziers, which will gradually reduce the Wintertodt's energy from 100 to 0. As the battle progresses, the Wintertodt will attack the pyromancers and knock them out. That is why you need rejuvenation potions in order to heal the pyromancers. The Wintertodt will also attack the braziers, which must be repaired and relit, requiring a hammer and tinderbox. It also has several attacks which will put the braziers out, so you'll need to keep regularly relighting each brazier, again using your tinderbox. Once a brazier is lit, players can use an axe to chop bruma roots from the nearby roots which have penetrated the Wintertodt prison and feed them into the fire either directly as logs or use a knife on them to make bruma kindling and feed those to the braziers for additional fire making experience. For completing each of the actions mentioned previously, the player is rewarded with points. Players need to accumulate points in order to get a supply crate as a gift from the people of Kurend for defeating the Wintertodt. Points are distributed as followed. You get 25 points for lighting the braziers, 10 points for adding bruma roots, i.e. the logs, to the brazier, 25 points for adding bruma kindling to the brazier, 25 points for repairing a destroyed brazier, and 30 points for healing the pyromancers. The more braziers are lit and being fed by players, the faster the Wintertodt energy will decline. There is a HUD which indicates the condition of each location, as well as your current points total and the Wintertodt energy. A pair of crossed logs with no fire means the brazier is not lit. If you see the wizard's hat, this means the pyromancer is down. If you see the hammer and chisel logo, that means that the brazier is broken. And if you see the lit fire icon, that means the brazier is lit. And this will update throughout the battle as you go on. In summary then, alongside your 4 pieces of warm clothing, you will need a tinderbox in order to light the braziers, a hammer in order to repair the braziers, an axe in order to cut bruma roots, and a knife in order to fletch bruma roots into bruma kindling. All of these items can be obtained just on the far side of the doors of Din, that's the entrance to Wintertodt, where you can also pick up incomplete rejuvenation potions. These are completed by picking the bruma herbs, which can be obtained from the 2 kind of branches in between the north and south braziers on either side of the Wintertodt prison. Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, noble knight. So in terms of strategy, there are 2 schools of thought with Wintertodt. That is either soloing or using one of the group worlds. Neither is necessarily right or wrong, it just depends on what you want to do as a player. I will give you a brief overlook now as to which is better and why, and explain both, and you can decide from there which one you want to use. So no matter what the case is, I personally always aim to get full pyro. The full pyro outfit, ignoring the gloves, count as warm items anyway, so if you follow my guide and get the full Clue Hunter outfit, you can basically replace each piece like for like as you unlock it from the crate. So what I'm saying is, I would open all of your crates until you get the full Pyromancer set, including the Bruma Torch. The torch is advantageous because it is equipable, so you can hold the torch and use that to light the braziers and save yourself an inventory slot. This is offset against obviously holding your own axe. In terms of which axe you use, you should always wield the best axe you can. Ironman, obviously you'll be stuck initially with a steel axe, but everyone else should wield the best axe possible, as you will cut Bruma roots slightly faster. It's a bit of a myth that after steel there's no difference. There definitely is. So which method should I use? Should I solo or should I use the group worlds? Well, the main differences are to do with drops. So in short, you will get 50% roughly more drops by soloing than by using the group worlds. This is due to the way the rewards are given and the points you can score. You can score much higher points total soloing than you can using the group world. This means more supplies for Iron Man. It's a little bit more AFK, not very much to be fair, but a little bit. You also get significantly more construction experience and slightly more woodcutting experience. However, this is at the expense of firemaking experience, so you will generally generate 30% less firemaking experience, and if you are someone who has way more than 10 HP, soloing will be slightly more difficult due to the fact the hits you take will be considerably higher. Therefore, the group world might be a lot easier, and if you're just aiming for firemaking to 99 and you're not too bothered about how many drops and supply crates you're getting, then the group world is much quicker. So it's literally a choice between, do you want to get the most drops, the most rewards, the most supplies, or do you just want to sacrifice some supplies to get to 99 firemaking in the fastest possible time? Just for clarity, I will give you some of the maths behind how you work this out. Basically, a full solo run targets a point score of 13,500 points. This gets you a max rolls supply crate, which gets you 28 items, and it takes around about an hour. Conversely, if you use a group world, playing for an hour should get around 6.5 crates, so approximately a reward of 13 items. If these crates are 750 point crates, then there's a 50% chance with each of them that you will receive an additional third reward. So if 50% of the time you get the third reward, rounding down, that is an extra 3 rewards. So that gives you a total of 16 rewards per hour versus 28. This is around 43%. So you get 43% more rewards from soloing than you do from group activity, assuming you can complete soloing about an hour, and you get 750 points per round using the group world. Sorry to bore you with some maths there. Okay, so I think we're kind of ready to get into Wintertodt, and now I'm going to start with an explanation of how to do it in the group worlds. So that is generally 309 on the British one or 307 in the American one. And essentially, once you've got the equipment I just mentioned, so your 4 pieces of warm clothing, hammer, tinderbox, knife, axe. If you're using a character with 10 HP, which is kind of the recommended one because it's significantly easier, you want to bring 2, max 3 cakes. As mentioned previously, wines or sourdough brews are the recommended foods for characters with higher than 10 HP. However, as you can see, I used a lot of standard fish. You can just get away with whatever food you've got at hand. Just make sure it's appropriate to your HP level. Even on the group worlds, where the pace of the Wintertodt battles are quite quick, you'll still probably need quite a lot of food, especially if you take some accidental hits from the brazier or the area of effect damage, as I went through previously. It's Bit of a trial and error, so depending on which type of food you're using, like how many points it heals, you can tune that over multiple things, because it takes around 670 completions to max out to get to 99 fire making. So you're going to have plenty of time to do a bit of trial and error and tune exactly how much of your chosen food you need. So I'm now going to assume that you've set your character up as appropriate to your HP level, and that you've got all the equipment mentioned previously. When doing Wintertodt on the group world, I recommend making one rejuvenation potion. This just allows you to heal a Pyromancer if he goes down, and will also get you the Mummy Combat achievement if you haven't already got it. So grab an incomplete potion from the crate, and then go grab a herb, either during the end of a game when you log in. So if you log in and there's a game still going on, now's a good time to make up your restoration potion and just keep that to one side. So you will notice that the players only ever group in what's called the east or the west side. So if you look on your HUD, you'll see the north arrow, and there is one set of Bruma routes to the east and one set to the west. Basically, for the whole game, 99% of players will go west or east, and they'll only light and bother with those two braziers. I recommend you just follow the crowd on this one. I don't know why you would want to use the other two in the other corners. There's not much to be gained from doing that, so just stick with the crowd. When the game begins, you want to be stood next to the brazier, because you get more fire making XP from lighting the braziers. So anytime the brazier goes out, you want to be in there if you can to light it back up, because you get more XP for doing that. It's something like 6 times your fire making level for lighting the brazier, 3 times for feeding Bruma logs, and 3.8 for feeding Bruma kindling. So once you've lit the brazier, head straight over to the nearest Bruma route and start cutting and get a full inventory. Once you've got your full inventory of Bruma logs, oh, and one thing to mention is there is a safe spot which you can stand in both the east and the west locations to avoid getting hit by the area of effect damage. I'll show that on the screen now. So if you stand here, the area of effect attack will never hit that square, so you're safe for cutting your logs. You will obviously still take the standard attack because there's no way of blocking that. Once you have a full inventory, head back over to the brazier, and if you follow my advice, I fletch everything because I want the fletching experience, and I want to make sure I try and max out as many points as I can possibly get. So I feel like I kind of get more points from fletching. If you don't, that's cool. Just feed your logs straight in at that point. If you're going to do what I'm doing, stand 1 square back from the brazier in case it gets attacked and explodes. It's just a precaution. Stand there. I tend to stand here just because it's close enough that I can see the brazier, so if it breaks I can get straight in there and repair it. Because again, that's another thing to look out for, because you want to maximize your construction experience. So anytime it breaks or goes out, you want to be straight in there to repair and relight it, then step back and go back to either cutting the logs or fletching them. Once you have a full inventory of fletched kindling, go and feed it all to the brazier and rinse and repeat. It is that simple. Obviously I've said you need to look out for when it breaks and when it goes out and try and maximize on that. If the Pyromancer goes down and the brazier goes out, you will not be able to relight it until the Pyromancer is healed, which is why I said maybe carry 1 rejuvenation potion. Most people don't, so that's totally up to you. But if you don't, your sort of fate is in the hands of the gods that someone else is hopefully going to do that. If they don't, what you'll see is everyone will run from either the east side to the west or the west side to the east, to whichever brazier is basically on at that time. They will just run to that, start using that. So just be prepared if you're kind of wondering why it's not relighting and everyone's running to the opposite one. And yeah, that's about it. You need to then rinse and repeat this. Personally, I tend to do 2 or 3 rounds, so I get 2 or 3 supply crates, and then I head back to the bank outside the Doors of Din, deposit my stuff, probably get some more cakes by that point because I'll probably have run out, and then I come back. The trick to surviving Wintertodt is to just not lose concentration. Probably 99% of the people who die here, especially hardcore Iron Men, die through disconnects or through just taking their eye off the ball and getting hit with a couple of splash damages and a couple of standard attacks, and then boom, before you know it, you can be dead. There are probably a couple of things I should mention as well at this point. So obviously you want to be kind of getting the full Pyro set, because this is going to give you 2.5% extra fire making EXP as you go through Wintertodt. Definitely worth having, because that's going to cut down the number of runs you have to do, hopefully, fingers crossed. Trust me, by the end of this you will be pig sick of Wintertodt. I use the Rune Light client. It's very useful because there are certain tools that you utilize to make it a little bit better. Firstly, the Wintertodt plugin has some nice features, and it also sends you a notification every time you are idle. So one thing that you'll find happening a lot, especially on the group worlds, is the standard attack will hit you multiple times in a row as you try to fletch or as you try to feed the brazier. It's incredibly annoying at times, and this is probably something I should have mentioned earlier, but the standard attack interrupts those actions. So if you are fletching or feeding and you are hit by any of the attacks, this will stop the action from proceeding. The standard attack is probably the most annoying because obviously this just hits at random and is unavoidable. So after any hit, your character will just stand there, hence why the system notification is a really useful tool. But inevitably, you'll end up doing Wintertodt while multitasking, like watching TV or doing something to try and keep your brain alive. The system notification will ping and tell you when your character's just stood there doing nothing. It also converts the number of logs and kindling you've got in your inventory, so you can always figure out the exact point total you'll have once you've fed that inventory into the brazier. Another useful RuneLight plugin is the Entity Hider. You can turn this on to hide all of the other players. This is not really useful when you're soloing, but when you're doing the group world, it's incredibly useful because you just don't get the splatter of hundreds of players running around. It just makes the whole thing a little bit less confusing. So definitely recommend using the Entity Hider to hide other players so you can just get on with it, and that'll just look like it's your player on its own. The last tip I'd probably say is more for hardcore Iron Men or just people who don't particularly want to die at Wintertodt and lose stuff. I mean, recently I did see someone die and lose a tome, which is pretty embarrassing, I guess. As soon as you can, get yourself a Ring of Life and just automatically equip the Ring of Life. It might not save you, but because the Wintertodt damage is generally gradual in the way it's given to you, it's probably the perfect activity for a Ring of Life to actually save your life. So I would recommend, especially hardcore Iron Men, always have a Ring of Life when you're at Wintertodt. So going back to the group Wintertodt, these rounds can be quite quick, so I tend to do a full inventory and then a partial inventory, aiming for 750 to 800 minimum. If you get 750, that gives you a 50% chance of getting the third roll. It's not guaranteed, so you may only get 2, you may get 3. This point brings us into why you would solo. In the group worlds, you are doing extremely well if you can consistently hit 1,000 points, especially when it's as busy as it is now, because Group Iron Man has just launched while I've been finishing this video off, and the group worlds are full to the brim. So the more people, the faster the Wintertodt goes down. The faster it goes down, the harder it is to get points on the board. You can still get your 500 to 750 quite easily, but 1,000 can be a little bit tricky. And now it's time for your answers. I asked you earlier, if you examine the doors of Din, what famous TV series did it quote? The answer, of course, is Game of Thrones, Old Hodor, or Hold the Door. Tune in next time for some more Lumbridge trivia. So this brings us nicely to my guide on how to solo Wintertodt. It really isn't something that you should be afraid of, and it's something I'd encourage everyone to give a go. Even if you can't hit full score, it's still an advantageous activity to do solo, as you will still manage to get a higher point score. And as you can see as we work through this guide together, several of the combat achievement tasks, which I haven't really been through yet, can be easily ticked off with a single solo run. So how do you solo? Well, the first thing is to set yourself up in the same way as you would for group exercise. So minimum 4 pieces of warm clothing and the same equipment as before. Broom or torch or tinderbox, axe, knife, hammer. If you are a 10 HP character or low HP character, you want to bring probably, again, max 2 to 3 cakes. If you are a high level character, you'll want to bring significantly more food. I reckon you bring, again, err on the side of caution, because once you're through that door of Din, you can't go back. So I would fill your inventory, maybe leave 4 to 5 spaces free, as you'll soon burn through the food, I assure you. The first thing to do when you start off is to light all of the torches. If you have 60 agility, you can take the shortcut at the top and do it all in one loop. If not, I suggest you do like a U shape and double back. I always go to the same side first, So I think it's usually the east. I go up first, light the first torch, and then move up to the far corner, light that torch, come back on yourself. If that torch is extinguished, obviously relight it, and work your way around as such until you've lit all 4. This should leave you in the top northwest corner. On your way back, stop at the sprouting root, which you should pass on your way back towards the entrance, towards the Door of Din, and wait for your character to pick 4 herbs. Don't rapidly click because this will reset the action each time. You just need to click once and it will go through. Occasionally you'll get hurt. If you get hurt, you will have to click again. You want to pick probably 4, making sure all the braziers are lit. Head back to the start, so you'll notice the courtyard area, head to that area and make sure you're out of the Wintertodd's area of effect, so you're not going to take the standard attack damage, and simply wait. Now while you're waiting in this area, head to the crates and withdraw 5 unfinished potions. You can actually do this by right clicking and click 5 potions, so you can take 5 out at once. Obviously characters who are packing a lot of food maybe won't have the space in their inventory, but just work through it, do it one at a time if you have to, and basically mix the 4 herbs you took into the unfinished potions to make 4 rejuvenation potions. Now all you have to do is sit tight and keep the 2 southern braziers, these are the ones closest to the door, closest to you where you are stood now, lit. What we're aiming for is to get the Wintertodd down to less than 20% energy, because as the Wintertodd reduces in energy, the frequency of the standard attack and the area of effect attack go down considerably. Mainly the standard attack is what we're worried about, so we're trying to knock that on the head as quickly as possible. When Wintertodd gets between 20 and 30% energy, the braziers will start to go out a lot. This is where you may want to bring stamina or energy potions, or if you're really struggling, a partner might be able to help you save time. Obviously if you're doing group Iron Man, great, several of you can camp 2 braziers at the same time. It's still easily possible to solo without energy and stamina potions. Just persevere, or if you run out of energy, you can start feeding 1 brazier and just make sure that it's constantly lit. So anytime it goes out, anytime the Pyromancer goes down, heal him and keep that lit, and the Wintertodd will still lose energy. You will take some damage being stood in Wintertodd's area of effect, but you'll still be able to get it down to a level where you will very rarely take damage, and that's where we want to be. We want to keep Wintertodd below 10% if possible. Once Wintertodd's down to around 30%, you can see I'm probably like 35, 32% on the screen there. Pick your side, it's the same as the group one, east or west. You'll see on the video I'm on the west side, and head over to the safe spot next to the Broom of Roots and start getting logs. Now this is a bit different to the group one, because what I'm going to say is once you've got full inventory at the start of the run, don't bother to fletch the logs, you just want to get them into the brazier as soon as possible and start wearing Wintertodd's energy down. The reason you want to get below 10%, as I mentioned previously, is the frequency of the standard attack will drop significantly if you're below sort of 9-10%. When you're on a character with more than 10 health, like you can see mine on the screen has about 66, it's really important in terms of preserving your food supply to kind of get that down to below 10% as soon as possible. Therefore, until it gets below 20, I wouldn't bother fletching. Once it's down below 20, you can start fletching. Again, I like to fletch 1 step back from the brazier. Yes, it's dangerous and you may get hit by the area of effect attack, but it's very rare. As long as you're watching, it's pretty safe, but it means that you're right next to it, so that as soon as the brazier breaks, you can get on and use your hammer to repair it and get that valuable construction experience. And trust me, when you compare the two, it will break a hell of a lot on the solo runs, and it's just great to get that extra experience. If you're doing it on your own, just you can take your time, but these days, because of Group Iron Man, Wintertodd can be busy and it's quite hard to find a world on your own. It will die down in time, so once the popularity wears off, once the newness wears off a bit, you'll be able to find some solo worlds and really take your time with it. But for now, there will probably be other people, so you need to be on there because they will be gunning to fix that brazier as fast as possible. So keep cutting, fletching and feeding. If Wintertodd ever goes below 5% energy, which it may do, probably will, then what you want to do is let it recharge. If you leave Wintertodd long enough, it will start to recover energy. So what you want to do is use this time to finish fletching off your inventory, replenish your supply of potions, because again, unlike on the group world, you will go through quite a lot of rejuvenation potions, so you'll need to keep stocking those up periodically. And if you have a full stock of rejuvenation potions, a full inventory of logs which are fletched, and Wintertodt is still below 4%, then simply go to the courtyard at the start in the safe area and stand around and just wait. Each solo run is going to take you approximately an hour. This is a great time to take a break, go make a brew, or use the bathroom. Now's probably a good time to mention the combat achievement tasks. And if this was your first ever Wintertodt run, so your first ever run is a solo run, you will have likely just received the Mummy achievement, which is for healing a Pyromancer. You literally just need to heal the Pyromancer once. You will also receive the Handyman, which is just repair a brazier which has been destroyed by the Wintertodt. And by the end of this round, you will receive the Cozy one, because you will have subdued Wintertodt with 4 pieces of warm equipment, assuming you followed my guidance so far. The last one that you will get is the Y Fletch achievement. This is subdue the Wintertodt after earning 3,000 points or more, and this is a real reason why everyone needs to solo. This is a hard combat achievement task. If you want to complete the hard diary, you need to complete this task, and it is very easy, as you should now be able to see. The only worry is running out of food. If you're above 10 HP and you came with enough food to start with, you should easily be able to bank 3,000 points before running out of food. And if you ever get low, so if you get down to your last 2 or 3 pieces of food, then just end the Wintertodt there and you'll be safe. We're going to go on to how to end the Wintertodt shortly. So that covers basically the combat achievements for Wintertodt that you can do all off this one solo run. You will have probably picked up these other ones if you started with the group. You'll have done the same easy ones that I mentioned previously. To get Wintertodt Novice, you need to subdue the Wintertodt 10 times. Just do the group thing 10 times because it's so much quicker. You know, it's going to take you 10 hours pretty much to solo Wintertodt 10 times. So you may as well just go on the group, and in an hour and a half, you can probably do the 10 you need. Equally, Wintertodt Champion requires you to subdue Wintertodt 50 times. Again, just do 50 runs on the group world. It'll probably take you 2 to 3 days, maybe a week if you are really taking your time. And the other two, which you'll need to do on the group worlds, are Can We Fix It?, which is subdue the Wintertodt without allowing all 4 braziers to be broken at the same time. Again, the first time you do this on the group world, you will likely complete this task. And the final one is Leaving No One Behind, subdue the Wintertodt without any of the Pyromancers falling. It's hit and miss, but I picked this up very quickly just by doing my 50 runs. So by doing Wintertodt Champion, I guarantee you'll pretty much do all of the other combat achievement tasks, bar the Y Fletch one. So the fastest strategy for completing the combat achievement tasks would be to do 50 runs on the group world, and then do 1 solo run up to 3,000 points, and then you can end Wintertodt there and then, and that will complete your combat achievements. It's that easy, guys. So that's covered the combat achievements. So we've kept our iterations going: cutting roots, fletching and feeding, repairing, relighting and healing as it happens. Aiming for 13,500 points. This will get you the Y Fletch achievement, and it will get you a reward crate with 28 rolls. 28. Drink that in a bit. 28 is bloody good. Compared to the 2 you normally get, it is awesome when you see a 28 crate open. Trust me, it's addictive. Once we've hit around 1,300, maybe even 12,500, we want to start winding the game down. We need to start killing Wintertodt off. So to end the game, simply run round and light all of the braziers. They are prone to Wintertodt attacks, so they may break and may extinguish quite quickly, but when you're down to about 5%, lighting all of the braziers, its energy level will drop extremely quickly. If you are struggling on this, you can just stand next to one brazier and just keep that one lit. So anytime it goes out, keep relighting it, keep the Pyromancer up. You probably need several doses of rejuvenation potion, and yeah, keep feeding logs to it as much as you can, but your main priority should be keeping the brazier lit and the Pyromancer up. It shouldn't take too long, and it really isn't that difficult. Again, if you had a small group or a partner, you could easily probably keep all 4 braziers lit and kill off Wintertodt extremely quickly. After that, boom, you'll be rewarded with your coveted 28 roll supply crate. Congratulations. And I think that's really covered most of the bases in terms of OSRS Wintertodt. In summary then, for Ironmen, Wintertodt should pretty much be your first port of call, and you can tell by the group Ironman thing that's going on right now that many people think the same. It's arguably the easiest and fastest way to get your first level 99 skill, and the supply crates will set your account up to success. Happily, the cape you get also at 99 acts as a light source, which will help you in those Slayer dungeons, which is another must for Ironmen. Obviously, any account can benefit from the leg up, so it's thoroughly worth the grind to 99, no matter how you are playing the game, which on average will take you around 670 to achieve, which is definitely achievable in a week or two. I also recommend that if you can devote the extra time, soloing Wintertodt is definitely a worthwhile endeavour. It gives you increased construction experience, and the 28 roll crates maximise the number of supplies you receive, as well as your chance of attaining the full power outfit as soon as possible, for that 2.5% Firemake EXP boost. In terms of the combat achievement tasks, this is certainly one of the easiest to achieve, so I'd get it done as soon as possible. As always guys, thank you for your time, and this is me saying peace out.